Imagine walking down a jungle footpath. Without any warning, a massive tiger leaps from the trees directly into your path. According to a story printed in a local newspaper, a young boy found himself in exactly this situation. The boy didn't scream and he didn't run. He grabbed the lowest branch of a nearby tree, pulled himself up, and climbed until he was safely out of reach. He sat perfectly still and waited for help to arrive. We tell these stories because they encapsulate our cultural definition of heroism. This animated graph visualizes the fearless hero archetype. Notice how logic and calm are maxed out, while the fear metric is completely zeroed out. We expect heroes to rely entirely on cold calculation. Setting this specific standard creates a narrow psychological baseline. It teaches us that if you experience the urge to run away, or if your knees shake in the dark, you cannot be brave. It defines courage as a binary. You are either calm and capable, or you are afraid and therefore disqualified. For a young boy named Hedar, that baseline was a problem. Hedar was afraid of strange noises and the shadows on the wall. To feel safe, he relied heavily on the warmth and the soft breathing of his grandmother, sleeping beside her every night. One evening, Hedar's father read the tiger story in the newspaper and decided to test his son. He told Hedar that brave boys face their fears, and he ordered Hedar to sleep completely alone in the office room to break his habit of seeking comfort. Hedar lay in the office bed, staring wide-eyed as the shadows seemed to breathe. He couldn't do it. On quiet tiptoes, he crept down the hallway and slipped under his grandmother's blanket. By his father's metrics, Hedar had failed. He encountered a scary situation, felt the urge to hide, and retreated to safety. The immediate conclusion is that Hedar lacked. But does failing an enforced test of stoicism actually make someone a coward? Later that night, the house settled into silence. The lights went out, and the adults, including Hedar's father, fell into a deep, heavy sleep. A soft, careful sound broke the quiet. A thief crept inch by inch in the darkness, reaching out with a greedy hand. Because of his fear, Hedar was the only person in the house wide awake. He lay there watching the ceiling and listening to the night, hyper-vigilant because he was terrified. Retreating to his grandmother's bed provided Hedar with a tactical advantage. By failing his father's artificial test of endurance, he positioned himself as the only person awake to intercept a real-world threat. The thief didn't see the boy in the dark, and Hedar, without a moment of hesitation or logic, lunged forward and bit down as hard as he could on the intruder. Hedar survived by letting panic take the wheel. He didn't formulate a plan or suppress his terror. He allowed his instinct to dictate his next move. This illustrates reactive bravery. Left, the calculated approach, a slow path from threat to logic to planning. Right, Hedar's response bypasses cognition, going straight to action. Both pathways converge at the same final endpoint. Calm climb or terrified reflex, the result is identical. The internal method of survival, the presence or absence of fear, does not change the outcome. Hedar's action was effective, regardless of the panic that fueled it. The thief's scream woke the entire house. Doors flew open, lights blazed on, and neighbors arrived at the door. Within minutes, the intruder was caught. Hedar's father looked at his son sitting in his grandmother's bed. Then he looked at the newspaper on the table. He noted that while the boy in the story had climbed a tree to escape, his own son had stayed and caught a thief. The father's original test only measured Hedar's ability to endure an empty room. It told him nothing about how Hedar would behave when the stakes were real. This reveals the flaw in our understanding of courage. It is not a rigid monolith that requires us to be cold and emotionless. Bravery and intense fear often exist in the exact same moment. Seeking comfort or feeling terrified of the dark does not disqualify you from acting when it matters. You can be the person who runs back to their grandmother's bed and still be the person who steps up during a crisis. True courage rarely looks like the stoic myth. It is often just the instinctual willingness to act, even when your heart is pounding and your eyes are wide with fear.